Hey, the hidden, hidden. You can't see it. The hidden things that keep people stuck, broke, unhappy, overweight, in bad relationships, in destructive patterns, and you can't see it. If you could see it, you do something about it. What is that hidden trap? What is that thing that keeps you stuck? You want to know what it is? It's a lack of action, a lack of action, a lack of action. Action over everything. Action over everything. You know, one of the biggest causes of failure that I see is watching people who succumb to inaction, who just won't step out, who won't take the step forward, who won't start the project, who won't start the business, who won't start the chapter, who won't start the exercise regimen, who won't start the coaching program, who won't start, in counseling or therapy. They just won't act. And there's a bunch of reasons people don't act, but here's what I can assure you. If you don't do something different, you will not get something different. In order to do something different, you first must do something. You first must do something. You've got to take action. Action is the precipitator of change. It's the thing that creates the movement that change grows in. And one of my favorite sayings is that the biggest gap in the world is the gap between knowing what to do and doing what to do. That is the biggest gap in the world. In fact, most of you watching this, you know 2 or 3 things that you could do or that you should do right now today that would change your life for the better. It would point you back in the direction of your goals and your dreams. You know you should, but you won't. You know you should, but you don't. And you've not known this for a day or two. You've known this for months or years or even decades, but still don't take action. And see, when we know by doing, there is no gap between what we know and what we do. Let me say that again. When we know by doing, there is no gap between what we know and what we do. Okay? And so, I see a lot of people and they come to programs or they, go to an event or something and they're like, "Oh, I know that." Okay. Well, do you really? Because I would submit to you, if you're not doing that thing, you don't know that thing. You might understand it. You may have heard it before, but you don't get paid to understand things. And you don't get paid to have heard things before. You also don't lose weight by hearing things. You also don't restore relationships by understanding them. You do those things by taking meaningful action. Taking what? Action. Taking what? Action, right? Okay, and so I know that. Really, are you doing that? Because until you are doing what you know, you don't really know. See, information is not power. Applied information is power. Okay, listen, understanding what a mutual fund is does nothing for you. Owning a mutual fund helps you generate compounding interest. Okay, knowing about calorie intake and exercise regimens does not help you lose weight and build muscle. Going to the gym and doing the reps helps you do that, right? And so we've got to understand, most of us, we want to be lifelong learners. I don't want to be a lifelong learner. I want to be a lifelong doer. Okay, I want to overdo it. I want to be guilty of ready, fire, aim. Ready, fire, aim. And you know what? Really, you know what it should be? Fire, aim, ready. Fire, aim, ready. Because here's the truth. You're never going to feel ready to take that action. You're never going to know enough. It's never going to be a sure enough thing. You're never going to have enough resources. You're never going to have enough connections. You're never going to have enough skill. It's never going to be just right. See, if you're waiting for things to be perfect, you're going to be waiting forever. And the opportunity is going to pass you by. See, listen, the most successful people in life do not have the best of everything. They make the best of everything. They don't start on third base, most of these people. They make their own sandlot. And so can you. So can you. And so one of the concepts that I talk about in my book, Byproduct, you can get anywhere, you can get it on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get books, is this idea of an action threshold. We all have a certain amount of pressure that's got to build up in our lives before we will take action. Okay, and so here's the difference between really successful people and people who struggle, people who stay stuck. People who are very, very successful tend to have very low action thresholds. In other words, they just don't need a lot of overwhelming reason to act. They understand that action in and of itself is valuable, that action in and of itself can create clarity, that action in and of itself can create direction. It can build networks, it can open doors, it can create resources, that the action itself is valuable. Why? Because you can't steer a parked car. Have you ever tried to do it? You can't do it. It's very, very hard. I mean, you're gonna yank on that wheel. But when that car is moving, it's very, very easy to direct it. The motion assists with direction. The motion assists with the clarity. And so people who succeed have very low action thresholds. They just don't require an overwhelming amount of evidence to move forward. People who tend to stay stuck have much higher, in comparison, much, much higher action thresholds. They want to be as darn close to certain as is possible. They overthink things to the nth degree. And here's the funny thing about it. There are things you don't know that you don't know. There are some things you cannot prepare for that you must go through. You just can't anticipate them. Life is full of variables. And I can assure you this, there's the pathway that you think is right? And then God laughs. We make our plans and then God laughs, right? Okay. But the point of this is we can prepare to the nth degree and we will still be unprepared because we cannot account for the countless variables that we're going to run into on the journey to our dream. We just can't do it. And so trying to do that up front, listen, planning is great. Evaluating the cost is great. Forecasting where some of the challenges are. Doing due diligence is important. You need to do those things. I'm not saying just act blindly. What I am saying is understand that you can only do as much diligence as you can do, and then you got to pull the trigger. Then you got to take action. Then you got to do something with what you are learning, right? Then you got to do something with what you're learning. Okay, and so our goal should be to become a low action threshold person. In other words, I don't need a lot of convincing to move in the right direction. I don't need a lot of convincing. I don't need overwhelming evidence. I don't need an assurity that I'm not going to lose by going this way in order to go this way, because here's the truth, y'all. Nobody can give you that assurance anyways. Nobody can. You can do everything right and get hit by a bus tomorrow. You can't know everything. And so we got to take what we know, and then we've got to act with certainty. We've got to act. We've got to act. We've got to act. We've got to act anyways. Type anyways in the comments. You got to act anyways. Here's what I found. Okay. Here's the things that stop people from acting. And simultaneously, these are the things that cause people to act. Number one is fear. The fear of failure. Like, what if I fail? Okay. Failure isn't final, and failure isn't fatal, as long as you learn the lesson and you attack again. Okay, failure is part of life. Every winner knows this. Losers are so afraid to fail that they never try anything. And winners understand that failure is part of the journey to success. They are not, listen, I failed a bunch of times. I've had things not go the way that I thought they were going to go. But because I'm moving, I can recover from them. I can change direction. I'm not a parked car. I can steer my way from those things, right? Because I'm taking action. And listen, we don't act in an absence of fear. We act in spite of the fear. People who take action are afraid, just like people who don't take action. The difference is they understand that the action can only help them, that they're already living their worst case scenario by not acting. You have somebody you want to start a relationship with, right? That man, you'd love to get to know better and have, is it maybe a more meaningful connection in your life? Well, listen, you're afraid to talk to them because what if they say no? Well, they're already not in that space in your life because you haven't asked. The answer is already no. Well, what if they say no and I need that big client? They're already not your client. You can't lose. Taking action creates positive momentum. So especially fearing failure and other people's opinions. Low action threshold people just don't care about those things. They understand that they exist, but they have a truth that's inside of them that these things are not permanent. So what if I fail? I'll learn and then I'll win. So what if they think bad about me? they're probably already thinking bad about me anyways. And there's nothing I can do to make everybody think good about me. So who cares, right? So one thing that stops people from taking action is this fear, specifically the fear of failure and looking stupid, okay? The second thing that stops people from taking action is wrong beliefs. Beliefs that they're somehow ill-equipped, that they don't have enough. They don't have enough information. They don't have enough skill set. They're not prepared enough. They need to study a little bit more. They need to get their ducks in order. They need to get things in order, and then they'll begin. Like they're constantly preparing to begin. And they're preparing to begin because they feel inadequate, right? They feel less than. They feel like that God couldn't use them where they are. But listen, God has a habit of using the most unlikely people, the people with the least good going for them, the people who everybody else overlooks. That's the people that God uses, the people who may lack in the natural something, but are then propelled in the supernatural by being obedient to that call of faith. Faith without works is dead. In other words, faith without action backing that up is no faith at all. It's not faith, it's fear. Faith without action is fear. Fear in a negative outcome. Fear in things not working out. Fear in you not being able to figure out a better way. And so we have these wrong beliefs that we're somehow less than, that we're somehow unprepared, that if we just had A, B, or C, then we'd be ready. You will never be totally ready. You will never have enough money saved. You will never have what you deem to be a high enough skill set. You will never be as prepared as you feel like you could, should, or may need to be. You're never going to feel that way. We're going to act anyways. We're going to act anyways. We're going to act anyways, understanding that bad action today is better than right action 3 weeks from now, right? Because guess what? We're going to know it's wrong, and then we're going to turn, and we're still going to be 2.5 weeks ahead of the person making the great plan. Okay, the third reason that people don't take action is they desire an environment that does not exist. They desire an environment that does not exist. What does this mean? What does this mean? They want things and situations to be different. You know, when things settle down at home, when the kids are out of sports, when work isn't so busy, when my resources, when they free up a little bit, we're always sort of like waiting for this environmental green light, right? Or they want clarity that cannot exist. They want to see all the steps in the path, okay, instead of just seeing step one and acting on step one. See, listen, God is under no obligation to you and to me to show us all the steps on the journey. He's under no obligation to do that. You are not going to get that, neither am I. But if our action threshold requires that we see 10 steps forward before taking step one, we will never take step one. What we do is we take step one, understanding that step two becomes visible from the vantage point of step one. I want you to imagine there's a building. Around the corner of that building is the next clue. It's the next step. It's the next chain in the link of that journey, right? But until we get around the building to be able to see it, all we can see is the building in front of us. And we say, well, I don't know step two, step three, I know I'm supposed to go behind the building, but I don't see where I go from there, so I'm just going to wait until it gets a little more clear. And ironically, what we were waiting for was on the other side of taking action. And almost always, that's what occurs when you take action. When you take action, that action creates momentum. That action builds networks. That action creates opportunity. That action positions you in different places than you were before. It opens you to opportunities you simply could not have been a part of because you're somewhere different. You've taken action. You've taken action. So faith without works is dead. And so what do we need to do today? What do we need to do? You say, Coach, what do I do? Okay, there's something you know that you should be starting for this year, or something you know that you should be stopping for this year. There's something on the inside of you that is calling you in a direction, and you don't see all the steps, but you see one step. Take that step. Do something. Do something. Type that in the comments. Do something. You got to do something, you all. You got to do something, okay? Because doing something is always better than doing nothing. Action creates direction. Action creates momentum. Action creates skill sets. Action creates networks. All good things are on the other side of doing what you know so that you can be positioned and equipped to do what you do not know next. Doing what you know so you can be positioned and equipped to doing what you do not know. There are some things that can only be learned by going through them. You can't learn them from others. You can't learn them in a book. You have to experience them. You have to go through them. You have to traverse that journey. It's the only way to get that information. And here's what I would submit to you. Step 2 requires the information that will be gathered on step 1. Let me say it again. Step 2 requires the information that can only be gathered on step 1. And so while you're waiting, while you're praying, while you're studying, while you're debating, while you're talking to others, while you're getting 6 people's opinions, while you're posting about it in the moms group on Facebook to see what the other moms would do, somebody else is taking action and they're beating you. They're ahead of you and they're learning things that no amount of data gathering and researching will ever give to you, because the only way that it can be gotten is by you going through that fire and saying, "Dadgum, here's that fire retardant that I had to learn about in this level for the next level." Take action, take action, take action. Do it now. I don't care what it is, right? You said you're going to lose some weight. You haven't done anything about it. Go to the gym. You say, "I don't have a gym membership." Well, fix it. Go. They're open. Go there and get a gym membership. Take what? Action. Well, I don't know if I have the money for that. Do it anyways. Do it anyways. Go to the gym and talk to some people. Make a few sales of those people in there, and you'll have plenty of money for the gym for the next 5 years. Get over the excuses. You're never going to know enough. You're never going to have enough. You're never going to feel prepared enough, and you got to do it anyways. You got to do it anyways. We take action in spite of the fear, not in place of the fear. We take action despite having the full plan, because we have at least the next piece of that plan. Take action, take action, take action. What do you need to do today? You need to take action. Hey, I hope this helped you. If this was valuable to you, can you do me a favor? Would you mind? Can you just hit that share button? Man, maybe share that to a group that you're a part of. Share it in your team. Share it to a leader that needs to hear this message. Maybe they've been afraid. They've been a little gun shy. They're afraid to pull the trigger. They're afraid to go all in. They're afraid to take that next step. Can you share this with them? Can you share? That would mean so much to me. Thank you so much for sharing. And hey, for more nuggets, for first dibs opportunities on incredible around the world sort of experiences, one-on-one coaching opportunities, small group experiences, and all the amazing things we have going on, get in the First to Know Club. Be a part of our community. It's the pinned comment right there. Just sign up for that, and you will always be on the front end of everything that we're doing here. Man, I'm so excited to watch you become the person that God himself has called you to be. But it's on the other side of taking the action that you've been avoiding. We're not avoiding it anymore. We are not avoiders. We are overcomers. We are not avoiders. We're overcomers. Go overcome that lack of momentum today. Take action.